removed from clothes by simply twisting the clothes and squeezing them until a sufficient amount of water was removed and they could be hung out to dry. However, because this was so manual, a great innovator, Ellen Elgin, invented a device called a wringer in 1880. A wringer consisted of two rolls that were operated by rotating a handle. After the laundry was washed, it was fed into the wringer at the same time that the handle was turned. The rollers would turn simultaneously, assisted by the tension of a spring to wring the excess water out of the clothing. Well. The clothes literally went through the wringer. Well. Today we use this term to refer to a difficult and trying situation. Yes. When we have been tested and pushed to our limits, we say we've been through the wringer. Yeah. Yes. When we've suffered from anxiety and confusion, we say we've been through the wringer. I need somebody in the house today other than me that's ever been through the wringer. Yes. Yes. Is there anybody here that will testify that they've been placed on the rollers of life and squeezed until it felt like everything that could come out had been wrung out? Yeah, cancer is a wringer. Divorce is a wringer. Church hurt is a wringer. That's right. Bankruptcy is a wringer. Abandonment is a wringer. Unemployment is a wringer. Defamation and slander. Let me change those words, as my cousin Stacy would say. Not defamation and slander, but being false accused is a wringer. Betrayal is a wringer. A layoff is a wringer, and a wayward child is a wringer. I don't know about you in the house today, but I have been through the wringer. And I thought that I lost everything that was in me. I thought there was nothing left of me that was worth anything. I've been squeezed and pressed, and I felt crushed, dry, and limp. I felt low and I felt worthless. I was empty after I went through the wringer. Yes. In the background text today, the Israelites are about to go into battle against the Midianites. Because of their disobedience, God had allowed them to be overtaken by the Midianites who were wreaking havoc in their lives. They had been taking the Israelites through the wringer. When they planted crops, the Midianites would come through and destroy them and leave them nothing to feed their families. And sometimes they would call their friends, the Amalekites, to help them join in with their fun. They would raid their territory at any time and for no reason at all. The Israelites were afraid and they were anxious on every hand. When we look at them in the text today, they are virtually refugees in their own land. They're hiding out in the mountains, in caves, and forts, doing whatever they can just to survive. They were crying out to the Lord, begging him to intervene on their behalf. So God did what God always does, and he sent someone to help them. That's right. I don't know about you on today, but I have been in some situations that I made myself, and God still sent somebody to help me. I've been in some things that I created on my own fault, and God still sent somebody to help me. I need a witness in the house today that got some help that you didn't deserve. And God sent somebody in a different time to help you. God raises up Gideon. He tells Gideon that he wants him to lead the Israelites in an attack on the Midianites. Gideon begins to backtalk with God. And then God finally gets him to the place that he realizes he wants to use him to win the battle and deliver Israel.
Well.
But then at the moment we look in chapter 6, verses 36 through 40, Gideon is making a second request for God to verify that he has chosen him, really chosen him to lead this attack.
Yeah.
This, Rodney, seems to be Gideon's M.O., his modus operandi, or his mode of operation.
Yeah.
You see, he has questioned God about his calling before. If we look back in the scripture a little bit, Gideon was first called by God while threshing wheat in Ophrah. And he requested a sign then from God that he was the one. Why is it, people of God, that we have such a difficult time believing that God is calling us to greater things?
That's right.
Yes, we want the blessings, but we never really believe that God can do anything great with our lives. Why does the mayor have to do it? And why does the governor have to do it? Why does the president have to do it? God can use you.
Amen.
God can use anybody to do what he wants to get done.
Yes.
Let me see if I can make it plain on today. He used a filthy donkey to speak to an unbeliever. And he used a fish to pay the tax man. He used a rock to provide a cool water fountain in the middle of nowhere. He can use anybody. He used water to make fine wine. And he used a cursing preacher as the rock upon which he built his church. He can use anybody. He used a pregnant virgin to save the world. God can use anybody. Why is it, people of God, that we don't believe that God can use us? Why do we always doubt?
Always doubt.
We find Gideon again at a place of doubt.
Place of doubt.
And doubt will make us do some foolish things. Doubt is a strong motivator. Old man doubt always rears his head at the most inappropriate time. Doubt will make you ask for a prenuptial agreement. And doubt will make you check a cell phone bill line. That's true. Doubt will make an employer do a background check.
That's right.
Or doubt will make an otherwise honest person read someone else's email. It'll make you tell them you got to put it on paper. And it'll make you sleep with one eye open all night long.
Come on now.
In this instance, doubt caused Gideon to question God again and again. God had led Gideon close to him, but he still questioned him. Through his angel, he had spoken to Gideon and reassured him before. Yet Gideon still doubted. Let me take just a moment here, people of God, to remind us not to doubt what God said. If God said it, he can perform it. And if he declared it, then he is powerful enough to make it come to pass. If he spoke it, it will manifest. Do not doubt. Look at the person beside you and tell them, do not doubt.
Do not doubt.
Come on, look at somebody else and tell them, I don't care what it looks like, but don't you dare doubt. Tell somebody else, don't you doubt, baby, what God told you he was going to do. Don't you doubt what he said was going to happen in your life. Don't you dare doubt the thing that God woke you up and showed you. Don't you dare doubt. Don't doubt. Don't doubt.
That's right. Preach.
Here Gideon is in verse 37, holding his little fleece, requesting another demonstration of God's power. He says, God, if you really want me to lead this fight, I will take this fleece and lay it on the ground. And if it's you, let the dew fall only on the fleece and let everything else stay dry. God did it.
Yeah.
Well,
When Gideon woke up the next morning, there was enough dew on the fleece for him to wring it out and fill a bowl with it.
well,
That's right.
But Gideon goes back to God again.
again.
And he says, God, just to be sure, I'm going to lay my fleece out one more time.
One more time.
And this time, I'd like for you to keep the fleece dry and let the ground be wet. And again, God
Did it.
And again, God did it.
Right. That's right.
This whole story is miraculous and it is a great sign and wonder. But for a few moments this morning, I don't want to focus on the request
Well,
or the fulfillment of the request. But instead, let's talk about the fleece.
well,
Because that was what was used for the sign and the miracle.
Oh, yeah, that's a word. That's a word.
The fleece had been wrung out,
run out.
yet it was still used for God's glory.
Amen.
Say
It
it.
had been through the paces, first wet and then dry, but it was still able to be used.
Well,
Tell the person beside you, I can still be used.
Still you.
Yeah, I already been through the ringer one time or two, baby, but I can still be used. Tell somebody else, I know I don't look like much in this house today, but I can still be used. Come on, Brother Tevin, look at somebody and say, I can still be used. See, when I say that, some of us cannot make that declaration with confidence.
watch out now.
Some of us are not actually sure that we can be used by God.
Say it.
After we've been through the ringer, we're not too sure. After our trials, it's difficult to determine whether or not we can still be used.
Well,
Let's take a closer look, people of God, and determine whether or not we're really still usable.
well,
The first way that I can tell whether or not I can still be used is if I know who I am.
say it.
The fleece knew it was a fleece.
Say it.
It didn't try to be anything else, and it didn't try to change to meet Gideon's expectation.
Yes, sir.
It acted like a fleece should act. And because it did what Gideon expected it to do, it served its purpose, and it was a part of the miracle.
Well,
The fleece knew its job was to cover.
well,
That's it. If you place it on the window, it covered.
well.
Come on
And if
now.
you place it on the table, it covered
Yes,
the
yes.
table.
Well.
If it was laid on the floor, then it covered the floor.
Yes.
It simply declared, I am a fleece, and I cover.
Say it.
Yes,
Say it.
What I
yes.
do, and that's my job. I'm proud to be a
Our
fleece.
coat.
And no matter what you do, you cannot get me off my job.
Come on now.
Come on.
I'm being used for God's glory, and
Yes.
nobody can stop it.
Nobody.
Why are we not like the fleas? You see, so often we twist
Say
and
it.
turn
Say
ourselves trying to live up to man's expectations.
Come on now.
Instead,
Yes.
we need to be who God created us
Oh,
to be.
yes,
And
yes,
do what God created us to do.
yes.
If God called me to be an usher, then I do not need to be in the kitchen trying to cook.
Come on now.
If God called me to the ministry of health, then I have no business with a microphone in my hand.
Yes.
If my assignment is the media, then there is no reason for me to be in the finance office.
Yes.
Come on.
We spend more time trying to be
Jeez.
something other than
Oh,
what God
yes,
called
God.
us to
Say
be.
it.
We take ourselves through so many turns and so many transformations that sometimes we don't even recognize our own
Oh,
self.
yes.
I remember Talia
Jesus.
said, there's a stranger in my house.
Okay.
It took a while to figure out.
Well,
There's no way you can be who you say you are. You gotta be someone else.
Come on.
Because she wouldn't treat God like that. We have become so distorted that we can't even recognize our own selves.
Yeah.
We
Jesus.
don't know who we are, which is why we
Jesus.
don't know whether or not we can be used.
Yes.
Listen, the called of God spend time with God.
Come on
They
now.
commune with him, and he tells them the job he has for them.
Yes, yes.
I must know who I am in God.
Amen.
And I must know my role in his kingdom.
Say it.
I must be
I must.
Come on, baby.